Hello friends, foes, and other watchers on the internet. My name is Matt, and this is Joe.
Hello, how's it going?
And you're watching Hogwash Gaming. And today we're going to be talking about D&D, kind of more like a conversation instead of me trying to inform you how to do things and whatnot, because there are other videos for that.
Is that why I'm here?
Oh, we're gonna talk about our favorite aspects of D&D and how that affects our DMing.
Cool.
So
I'm glad you said that because that's consistent with what we said we were going to talk about before we recorded this. So,
well, it's good to stay on the foot that we said we'd start with. So,
the left foot.
Yes, it's the best foot in swing. Anyway, so
moving on. I was just wondering, if I should list a qualification that I have to talk about this.
Oh yeah. So let's start with you. How long have you been DMing and playing D&D and whatnot?
I was actually going to say I don't really have a huge qualification because you actually introduced me to this game, when you were in the other house. So 5 years ago?
2 years ago.
Oh, okay, 2 years. So 2 or 3 years I've been doing this, but I really liked it, and before I knew it I had a whole bunch of dice and a whole bunch of books, and I was making my own dungeons and making my own campaigns, and you've played them and enjoyed them, so I must be doing something right. So
he's okay.
It's all right. And we just we talk DM all the time. We talk dungeon master to dungeon master all the time, and we talk about D&D all the time. So we thought, we should just do that and turn a camera on.
There you go. So here you are. Enjoy. So I'm going to start off with saying what I like about D&D, because my qualifications are... I didn't actually start off with Dungeons & Dragons. I started off with the Star Wars RPG, because a friend of mine was like, hey, do you want to play an awesome game? And I'm like, well, I'm into awesome games, sure. And he pulled out his rule book, and we started playing Star Wars. And I was like, this is crazy awesome. It was really complex, and he did a terrible job explaining how to do it, but he got enough into my brain to hook me. So I started studying up on this stuff like crazy, and I already did a video on the trouble I ran into there, but my brother and I, we hadn't bought D&D.
I'm not his brother.
No.
He's not referring to me.
No. My brother and I, we started making up our own fantasy world and making up our own rules for a D&D-like game, because we didn't have the books. And we played that for years. And then I moved out, and I was like, you know what? I should get into D&D and actually buy a book. So I did, and so I've been playing official D&D about as long as Joe has, actually.
Oh wait, really? I legitimately didn't know that. I thought you had been playing a lot longer than me.
Well, with official rules.
So, just to clarify, your beginning in D&D was in 5th edition?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had read 3rd edition, but that was really complicated. And then 4th edition I tried. 4th edition is the one that I tried to start us up with, because I had a...
Yeah, I have no experience prior to 5th.
Yeah.
And I'm told that 4th actually wasn't that popular.
It wasn't, and that might attribute to why it was a little confusing at first, is because I was trying to understand it as I was trying to teach him.
That could be... Can I talk about that?
Yeah.
That's when I came in?
Yeah.
So, Matt introduced me to D&D. I'm Joe, again, because someone's going to forget. I always forget names, so I can refer to myself in the third person for this whole conversation. No, not really. So Matt had me and my brother, who's, again, not Matt's brother, because we're not brothers, so my brother is not his brother, and his brother's not my brother. And we're not brothers. But he had us over to play D&D, and you had a campaign, like a pirate campaign. And all the information that you gave us, and I think this was a good way to start, was you said, okay, so you've never played this before, but basically it's going to be a story that we all collectively tell, so all I need you to do is invent a character, tell me something about him, tell me what it looks like, tell me kind of his style, or her style, whatever. And he didn't have us roll stats, he didn't have us make a sheet, he just said, make up something. So I said, okay, I want to be a pirate captain. who is really stealthy and sneaky. He's really good at running his ship, but interestingly enough, he's blind, which was for a while. I think we had to hash out how that was going to work once the rules were established. But it's one of my favorite characters. I actually made a custom miniature for him, Solomon Obadiah Black, real SOB, and I made it for that reason. Anyways, the initial game, and I don't know if I told you that. No, I did tell you this. The first game, we were like, oh, you said, okay, you're on a ship that just crashed, and you wake up to the sound of waves, but your ship has obviously been beached. And you wake up and you look around, and, well, you don't see, he pointed at me, you don't see anything because you're blind, but you feel that you're beached, you don't feel the waves moving anymore. So he said, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I get up and I get out of the ship and try to get onto the sand. And he said, okay, roll this dice here. This is a D20. Roll this. I'm like, why do I roll this? He's like, just roll it. It's called a strength check, or an athletics check, I think it was. And I'm like, okay. And we rolled it, and it was whatever it was. And he said, okay, you fall, and I think one of us took damage. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm like, why did I just roll that dice? And I'm segueing into my favorite aspect of D&D.
Yep.
Because Matt was telling us the story, and I was like, what's going on with this dice? And it kept going on for a while. It was like, all right, I'm going to try to I'm going to go in and swing with my sword, and I'm going to cut this orc to pieces. And he's like, okay, roll the D20 again. I'm like, why do I do that? He's like, well, it's called an attack roll. You roll that, and then you see if you hit it. I'm like, okay, roll it, and like some other number that meant nothing to me.
I wasn't a good teacher at this point.
Well, eventually, though, what happened was I think you lent me your player's handbook.
Right.
And you told me, like, okay, well, when you're rolling the dice, I have a number. Matt was saying, Joe, I have a number, and I'm trying to get you to roll. Or when you roll and you exceed that number, then you succeed. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I read the book, and that's when I got hooked. I did not get hooked when he said, like, hey, isn't this cool? We're going to tell a story. I was like, sure. It sounds like, improv class at drama class, and like that's fun, but whatever. But what actually hooked me was when all of the rules came in. And that's what we really want to discuss, is like, because we have two very different, drastically different appreciations of D&D. I love the rules. I love that there are freaking 3 base books are these the 3? They're actually not the 3.
No.
There's the PHB, the DM guide, and Monster Manual.
Yep.
For the 3 base. Well, don't worry about it. So we're not going to show it. But that is what really got me hooked. I'm like, oh, there is a whole system of mechanics and consequences and requirements and establishments and lore and all of this stuff that's already here that you can work in. And it was like, that was my giant sandbox. Like, I'm someone who has a difficult time thinking outside the box, but if the box gets bigger and there's more mechanisms in the box, I like the box that much more. Matt's over here and he's just like, what box? He's like,
Exactly.
there's a box?
It's like, because my thing is, I love rules, and I love watching the rules fit together to make things awesome. But my favorite thing about D&D is the story. I love seeing people do awesome things. Where the rules might not say you can do that, I like to see people try. And to think and try to invent ways to overcome possibilities, problems, that's the word I wanted.
Overcome possibilities.
Yeah, overcome possibilities. Overcome problems in a creative way, which may or may not include the rules. And so,
which brings us to the core.
Right, exactly.
Of this discussion. Yeah.
It really kind of makes us bounce off each other pretty hard at some points, and I get frustrated and he gets frustrated, and then we have
we're still friends.
We're still friends, and we still play together. And I think that's so what kind of advice do you think we could give in order to say this is how you overcome these issues.
Well, can I give a couple examples to more clarify what
Sure.
we're... So,
it's a story. I love it.
Well, it is a story, and actually it's a story that you weren't in. I'm sorry. But...
Even better.
well, actually, there's probably more than one story. So I've played with different groups of friends who play D&D, and there's actually you've played with the other group too. You know, like the other group, the friends.
Yep.
I guess I'm not going to name anybody for privacy reasons, but the other DM was DMing this campaign, and there are some things. Again, I love the rules, and I have learned so many rules, and it makes me happy to know rules and how things are going to work. And it's hard to turn that off when I'm not the DM anymore. So I was like, as an example, I was a player, and there were, I think, 5 players and the DM, and like our druid was a dragonborn druid with a lightning breath weapon, right? So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And she turned into an alligator, because druids can do that. And said like, oh, while I'm an alligator, can I still use my lightning breath just to, annihilate this goblin or whatever it was? I don't know if it was a goblin. And he actually looked at me. I don't know why. I'm like, it's your game. You can do whatever you want. But I was like, I wouldn't do it because you're not supposed to be able to do that. But he said yes because of I think it's called the rule of cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. So just allow it. And I'm like, no, you've got to accept the consequence of the fact that you're right now an alligator and you no longer have your breath weapon. Like, to me, I'm trying to think, let me try to think of another story here. What was the one that just happened with us that we were, the last campaign?
Oh, was it the chair?
It was the chair, yes. So it was totally improvised. Should I just go into it?
I can intro it, and
yeah,
then we can, once we get to the issue, then we can.
Yeah.
You can,
but for reference, what the story we're about to tell is I was DMing, but it was a totally on the spot improvised campaign. Like nothing had been written down, nothing had been determined. I was completely making it up as we went.
We were using like randomly generated characters as well.
Yeah, the characters were. I think the only thing that I had decided was what creature you were going to fight.
Okay.
That was it.
Cool. So, basically, I was a Dragonborn. There's a lot of Dragonborns in our stories.
Dragonborns are cool.
Yeah,
I played a Dragonborn as one of my first characters.
There you
He
go.
died.
A Dragonborn, was I a ranger? No.
No, you were a barbarian.
Barbarian, that's right, that's right. The other one I don't choose usually. Okay, and basically we got into this big brawl at this inn. And when I say brawl, it was us against 3 snakes, so it wasn't that big.
Oh yeah.
But,
Brawling
venomous snakes inside an inn, it's gonna cause chaos. And so we were running around, and I had caught one, and by using, I think, handle animals or something like that.
Yeah, you asked me, can I use an animal handling check to try to catch the snake? In my mind, I'm like, he's trying to grapple the snake, and it doesn't matter what your animal handling skills are. But I let him do it anyway because sometimes I do use the rule of cool.
Anyway, and I think I had enough strength to actually do it either way. Because I rolled high.
You did catch the snake.
Yeah. So anyway, I put it in a basket, and then on my next turn, I said, okay, I put a chair over here, I pull a chair and put it on top of the basket so the snake can't get out.
Right, you had the lid on the basket, chair on top of that.
Right.
Details.
So I was like, alright, now I'm gonna attack something. And then
I jumped in, like I just did, and said, that was your action. Your action was putting the chair on top of the basket. And then, again, it was, for the record, it was not a fight.
No.
Which was fine. Like in real life, we were not fighting about the chair doesn't require an action. It wasn't like that. I was like, the chair is actually your action.
I got really serious. Like,
he's like, wait,
what?
Are you sure?
I mean, no, I would have done. Okay.
And I was there thinking, and here we go.
Yeah.
I was there thinking like, well, technically a round consists of 6 seconds. Picking up a chair and putting it down, like, I think that would require an action. You still have your movement left, bonus. That kind of thing is not in the book, so I'm just like, well, like this is how long it takes to swing a sword, this is how long it takes to put a chair on top of a basket, so I'm going to require that as your action. And I think that was that, right?
That was that.
To do that.
Because I was like, I could argue this, but I really want the story to go on, because I'm okay with getting cheated out of an action. If that, in my mind, that's what I was thinking. And I was like, alright, let's go with it. And as the fight progressed and it wasn't my turn, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to look this up. Because I'm pretty sure interacting with an object is a free action. And I flipped to it, and I was like, oh, I was right.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't go, Joe,
give me the action back.
give me that action.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't worth it in my mind.
So, is that your period? Is that what your point?
But after the fight concluded and we were done, I was like, okay, Joe, and this is the rules, so there. And it wasn't in that kind of attitude, but just...
No, it was like, by the way, because we were talking about this, here's what the rules actually say, and that it's a free action.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, because I forgot. Because the thing is, and this is my, you said, what advice do I have?
Mm-hmm.
For someone like me, what I told Matt is like, first of all, I've been accused of being a rule lawyer, yeah. Rules lawyer, whatever,
something like that.
Yeah, and I it's completely true. But because that's what I enjoy, and I told him like, dude, challenge me. I not only don't mind it, I welcome it. Like, because my favorite part of D&D is when the player, not the DM, but when the player knows the rules, knows their capabilities so well that they surprise the dungeon master. And he knows everything except what the player is going to do. And my favorite point is when the player can say, well, actually, I've got this little magic thing I can do. It might not be magic, but I can do this thing. And the DM goes, oh. And which is why I kick myself for times where you've kind of done that. And I was like, crap, because now everything's going to cascade into a really boring story because I forgot that you can do that thing.
It was like Bastion, the paladin that I want to tell you the whole story about. There was this encounter we had where this guy was dying on the side of the road from eating something poisonous. And we were like, oh no!
Boy, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and Bastion jumps off his horse, runs over to the guy, lays on hands for 5 points, and cures him of poison. The end.
The whole challenge was going to be like, oh, you've got to go into the woods and you've got to find this certain plant, you got to find king soil or king's foil
yeah.
to cure Frodo. And he was just like, hey, paladins can cure disease. I'm like, they can? Crap.
Oh, yeah.
And I like the rules. So I'm like, well, that is a rule. There goes that challenge. We'll just... Cool. But the thing is, my advice is, first of all, there's two absolutes that I would say in D&D. First of all, the first absolute is that, well, okay, these are not in priority. But the first one that I'll say is that the DM has the final say. Yep. And if the DM says something completely against the rules, that's it. The DM has the final say. So if I had said, you put your magic, what is it called, lay on hands?
Lay on hands,
yeah. I should know this. I've played paladins, but I've played a paladin. Lay on hands, but the disease is still there. Because... you could absolutely say, like, well, this is a disease that can't be cured magically. It's got to be specifically like this. Whatever. Because you can make those changes. You're basically omnipotent. But the second thing is that everyone, the DM and the players, needs to have fun. Because that is the point of the game.
Right. And a lot of times, some people forget that the DM is actually working with the players. Even though the DM seems to be working against the players a lot of the time, the DM is there to make sure that all the players are having a great time and getting what they would like to get out of the game. Like if you've got a murder hobo,
Murder Harbor.
yeah, murder hobo on your game, then throw a few more enemies at him than the rest of the team, because that's what they enjoy. Magic sounds.
Sorry, I should
It's all right.
have put my phone on.
That's all right.
silent.
But yeah, and then if there are characters or players that like puzzles, give them a little more of that aspect, and we can talk about puzzles and games and whatnot and stuff in other videos.
I'd be happy to. Everyone has to be having a good time. So if you, I guess I'm specifically talking to DMs. No, I'm not. I'm talking to DMs and players. So if your play style is such that you enjoy this play style, like I really enjoy. Okay, I'll use myself as an example. I really, really enjoy the rules. That whole thing with the druid who wanted to use the breath weapon in her wild shape form. Wild shape? Beast shape?
Wild shape.
Wild shape. Ugh.
2 years. We're working on it.
Yeah, sorry. Wild shape. I was like, I don't think you should do that because I thought I was being asked, but but when once the DM said, well, we're going to do it anyway, I'm like, okay, there you go. But I think I actually got on the druid's nerves, not in character. Like I got on the player who was playing the druid's nerves because I kept like, actually, I think this is how it works, and I think this is how it works. And I think she was having a hard day anyways, so maybe it wouldn't have bothered anyone on the. I don't need to justify myself. I got on her nerves, and that is bad. Because the point of the game is for everyone to have fun. So if your playstyle is sapping everyone else's fun away, then you either need to find a group that likes that playstyle, that you work well with, and everyone's going to have more fun because you play that way, or you need to back off and meld with the group a little bit more. So when I'm DMing and you're playing, you're actually really good at going so far out of the box that I'm like, everything that I wrote is irrelevant at this point because
I try not to do that, but it's what I enjoy. And
yeah.
so.
Well, to be honest, like we've been playing Horde of the Dragon Queen, and I'm trying to realize that the book is a guide and not like this is how it needs to happen, because sometimes it's just really hard to communicate what the situation is and what the solution would be. Like nobody's getting it. Like all you have to do is kick that door and it'll be fine. And everyone's like, maybe we should go to the library and research this door. And I'm like, are you serious? Just, oh my, some skeleton walks in and kicks the door and behold, it opens. And that gets frustrating. But again, the point is fun. The end goal is fun. So if you're DMing and nobody's enjoying because you're such a stickler for the rules, then that's not fun, and it defeats the purpose. And in contrast to that, and you don't do this, I'm not referring to you because you do this, but in contrast to that,
I'm here, so might as well look at me.
This is why there's two people here. In contrast to that, if you're somebody who says the rules are flexible, and the point is the story, but it frustrates your players because they're like, I have this ability and you're telling me that it doesn't work because it's cooler if this doesn't work. And like all of these things that I've gained all this experience and gained up levels and made this character, and I was looking forward to doing this thing that you're not allowing me to do because it's cooler if I can't. That's frustrating.
That's very, very true. One thing that you can do, and here's just some more advice, if you are a rules follower,
which you should be. Just kidding.
If you're a rules follower, then give your players cool toys that stick to the rules. Like, he gave my paladin, Bastion, a sword that is cursed. Well within the rules. It wasn't in the campaign.
Nope, it wasn't in the campaign. It was based off of the Sword of Vengeance. Just very, very little bit of difference.
Right.
Not that you know that, Bastion. You don't know.
Oh, I don't know how that thing works. I don't own a book.
Actually, I don't think you've told me about this, like what you're leading into with this. This made you enjoy the campaign more?
It made me enjoy the campaign so much more because that gave me a story that I could develop in my own little corner of the game. And yes, it does affect everyone else, but I try not to make it like
this is a really good example.
This sword is everything in this story. It's just keeping me happy. And I think that's a very valuable thing if you are a rules follower and you've got a story person in your group, is give them
a story.
Give them a story that they have to develop. And poor Joe, I text him every week, basically, of like, I could do this with this sword, and this with this sword, and this new book, it has a warlock that is bonded to a sword. I could do that,
yeah.
And then he would become conflicted, and it would be so great. And Joe's
I'm like, good for you, man. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but like, I literally have the stats of this sword written down and the requirements to use it, the requirements to remove the curse.
Yeah.
And until you do that, the sword is going to stay the same.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to buff my sword at all.
No. But the thing, this is a good example of. I know this isn't exactly like, hey, listen to us talk about our different DMing styles, but this is a good example of our different DMing styles, or our different just enjoyment of the game styles.
Right.
Because I gave you that sword not to give you a story. I gave you that sword because I was like, I wanted to give everyone at that point something. Like the archer got the bracers of archery, the bard actually got the ring of spell storing.
Yep.
And you got. I wanted to give you a plus something weapon.
Right.
And I think that I was looking through, the wondrous items in the Dungeon Master's Guide, seeing like what would be good. Oh, that would be good for this person. That'd be good for this person. And I saw the Sword of Vengeance. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That could be cool. And I thought like I wanted to give him a +2 weapon actually, but I think you were only level 3 at the time, so I'm like, that's a little overpowered. So then I found this cursed sword. I'm like, oh, well, let's just make it. And that's actually the main difference, is that in the book it's a +1 weapon.
Yeah.
So I gave him the cursed sword, but it's a +2, but he's cursed so that he might go crazy and rage of vengeance. And I'm just like, yeah, that's cool, but I wasn't thinking about the story so much. I was thinking about, that's a good balance. That's a good mechanical balance. But he totally took it and was like, this is my story now. Like my, we have the whole campaign that we're doing. We're trying to track, I'm not going to spoil the campaign, but it is called the Horde of the Dragon Queen, so they're tracking the Horde. That's the main story. Yeah. Play the campaign.
Spoiler alert.
Read the title. That's what the campaign's about.
There you go.
So that's what the campaign's about, but like your character's personal story is there, and that's really great because in these campaigns, you make your own character, therefore the campaign can't write your personal story.
Right.
So you just make this
right.
part of it. So I feel like I was leading into something deeper with that, but I lost it.
So even though he didn't intend to give me what I needed to enjoy the game more, he did. And if you're a person that loves the story, enjoy the story by all means. But if your DM is more rules based, realize that your story isn't going to affect how the story is going to be judged. Is that the word I wanted? Like how the story is going to be pushed forward is going to be very much the rules that are set in the book, not necessarily, oh, but my story says I have this power now. No, because the rules don't say that way. So just make sure that your storytelling isn't a way for you to try to get boons, not because your DM won't let you.
Well, I think this is like the point that I wanted to come to, is that there's probably other styles of DMing other than the two that we've described based on our own experiences too. And the point is that none of it's wrong. Like I'm not arguing that a mechanics and rules based campaign is better than a more story RP based campaign. I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but I'm just saying that they both exist, and that again the point is fun. Like I think that in my mind, all of the rules and all of the consequences that are hardcore in the book, that if you solely worked within those and can still come out victorious, I think that adds more realism, because you didn't bend reality to just make it happen. Like, you actually overcame it. Like, okay, I find more satisfaction in a rock climbing wall. I'm going way off topic here. I find way more satisfaction in a rock climbing wall if I get to the top without the person who's belaying me, holding the rope, doing this at any point to give me an extra boost to go up. If I got up there under my own power and took the exact, maybe a stick to one color of rocks going up. If you've ever been to an indoor gym, there's like courses based on the color of the rocks that you choose. But like, if I say, I'm going to stick within these bounds, then I'll make it to the top. And if I don't, dang it. But if I do, wow, I did it and I didn't break the rules. And I find that way more satisfying. But that being said, there's been plenty of times, going back to D&D, where I'm like, if this happens because this rule is in play, the story will suck. And these people won't enjoy it because the story will suck. So, yeah, like player death is one thing. Like, I really hate it when players die. So there's been and like, I know one time I killed your character, but that was when I was new to DMing and I completely miscalculated a counter.
And this is a great story, because when my character died, I was like, that was beautiful.
And I was like, that sucked! I screwed up the rules! I put him against a huge monster that there was no way he could have won.
It was an ice wolf, froze my monk to an icicle, and she shattered across the ground, and it was gorgeous.
See, I would have only found that pleasurable if I had been like, okay, this is an appropriate encounter, this is hard or deadly, and if you die in a calculated hard or deadly encounter, or I guess even in a medium or easy, if somehow you die within those. I'm like, okay, if you die within these bounds, then that's on you. You failed the rules. And if you think it's glorious, great. And if you can pay for a revive spell, that's great too. So I was disappointed, and I'm just like, and I talk about bending reality. I said, okay, none of that happened. We're starting all over.
This reminds me of another story with Bastion and the friends. Okay.
We should do like the weekly Bastion update or something.
Oh, believe me, I've got plans. I've got plans. I want to actually animate it.
Oh, dang.
But that's going to be a lot of work.
Whoever animates Vox Machina out there in Critical Role,
yeah,
talk to us.
Yes, please. We've got stories. That was good and not planned. Wow, that's awesome. Anyway, last time we played, we were storming a castle. And
we had fun.
And our bard wasn't there. So Joe played the bard. And we were interrogating this guy, and Bastion, trying to be a lawful good character. Trying. He's not. He's a true neutral at this point. Poor guy.
You started out as good.
Yeah, started out as good. Lawful neutral, anyway. But anyway, so he's trying. He's trying to serve his deity the best he can, but it's just not working out. So anyway, they interrogate this guy, and Bastion's like, let's just put him to sleep. Bard, play us a song and put him to sleep. And so Joe's like, okay, well, how does sleep work? Okay, roll. And the guy falls asleep. Well, then Joe finds out that our bard gave up the spell of sleep because it wasn't working out for him.
He leveled up and decided to take a different spell.
Right. So he was like, oh wait guys,
our bard doesn't know that anymore.
So we reverse time. And then...
That wasn't planned either.
No, it wasn't, but it was awesome.
Oh man.
See, we're friends.
That's gross.
Anyway...
Sleep wasn't existing.
We reversed time, and then we found a different way to put the guy to sleep. And,
You want to try that again?
No, I'm good. But it was funny because we used all the same dialogue, basically, that we used RPing, putting the guy to sleep with the spell. We reversed time, and then used the same dialogue and knocked him out.
Yeah.
And so it was a great, like, parallel universe.
And I am finding more and more that my favorite stories, this is good advice, just let it happen. Whatever happens, happens in D&D, sorry. It's later than we intended to record this.
Exactly.
Just, like, also in that encounter, you were in a library in the castle, and I still don't know why you did this, but you said, well, we should burn the library down, and I was like, and I was about to say, like, why would you do that? Like, in my mind, there was literally no reason why you should do that, but in your mind there was, and you know what? I'm not supposed to control the players, so I'm like, okay, well, this happens, and you're now in a room of flames, and we just told the story from there. I'm like, that was definitely not something that was going to happen, but we just...
I had a reason, and I will tell you later.
Tell me now, what was your reason?
My reasoning was to send a message to the guy who valued books so much. Like, look, you're no longer in control.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like, hey, we're coming for you, and we've destroyed something that's valuable to you.
Interesting. Yeah, well, it got his attention.
Yeah, and that's, you know.
There was another point in that where I was just like, alright, I know that, at this point I was aware that, like, you know, Matt really enjoys a story, but I'm also like, if he enjoys a story, like, consequences are part of the story. So I'm like, this is how things work. Very small example, he found you know what, I'm not going to say where this was, or if it was in the campaign or not, because I think we're borderlining... We're probably not blowing anything, because you can play the same campaign and do a totally different story.
It's true.
But they were in an upper floor of a castle, and they had sicked a whole bunch of natives on the invaders, basically. Like, hey, you know, go defend yourselves, rah, rebel. And they were like, yeah, we should do that. Whoa. They didn't have many weapons, so he happened to kill a guy who had a scimitar or something, and he said, and I take the scimitar and I toss it outside of the castle window, and I'm like, cool, you hear a splash as it falls in the moat that I told you was there.
He did.
And that was that.
Yep.
The sword was lost and it was useless. And he's like, well, maybe he'll find it. I'm like, as you remember, the moat was completely muddy and unable to be seen, and it was also like 100 yards away from where these guys are, so that was a total waste of a scimitar.
See, if I was DMing, I would have had Bastion roll an intelligence check to wonder, like, what do you think of that? Because the first time... Okay.
I'm going to say this, though. If we're going to launch into a discussion of when to use checks,
no.
That's a whole podcast.
Yeah, we're going to do that later.
That's going to be another one.
We'll do that later. But, no, the first session of this campaign, there was warfare everywhere, and we were trying to get a prisoner. But
oh, yeah.
the fact was, none of the players remembered the reason we were out there, so none of us were taking prisoners.
And I kept, like...
He kept giving us opportunities. And Bastion ran out into the woods, and the enemies were following him, and he did a stealth check. He hid behind a branch or something like that. And all the bad guys ran past me, and then one tripped and fell right in front of me. And I said, okay, I threaten him and say, do not tell anyone where I am. And the guy was like, okay. And then Bastion ran. And Joe was like, roll an intelligence check.
I mean, it was right there. Yeah, it was like, you did the intimidation check, and he's like, okay. It just came out of nowhere and said, basically, I mean, put yourself, I'm putting myself in that dude's situation. Ah! Don't tell anyone where I am. Okay. Run away.
And so he's like, roll an intelligence check to see if you remember something. And so I rolled, and it was really low. And so he's like, Bastion thinks to himself,
that was a great decision.
That was really cool. And that I love. So anyway,
this is why. See, this is an example of success, because look at, we're talking about this. We have stories. It's fun. That is the point.
Right, exactly. So wrapping it all up.
If he totally missed the goal of that session, but he had fun, he had fun.
There you go.
And I am having fun talking about it. At the moment, I was like, what the heck? But
Exactly. So to wrap it all up, fun is the point.
But the DM does have the final say.
Absolutely.
But DM, if you're robbing someone of fun, that is not the point.
Right, exactly. So play the way you want to play, but realize that this isn't just you playing. This is you, the DM, and whoever else is playing with you. So be open to changing the way you play a little, so then everyone can enjoy the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, anything else?
I think that this might have also served as just like an introduction to discussions. So I wouldn't mind doing another one, but I guess if you really hated this, it's his channel, so let him
And
know.
I'm gonna make more. So,
Well, no, do you want feedback?
I do want
don't
feedback.
give any feedback.
yeah. Okay.
No.
If you seriously see
If you hate
something,
my face,
yeah,
I'll turn around next time.
we've got paper bags. We can do stuff. So,
Yeah.
leave your suggestions, your comments, your
Do not suggest a paper bag.
yeah, please. They're hard to breathe in and they're sweaty. Anyway,
But
yeah, we really value what you have to say, and
we have other stuff to say.
and we have tons of topics that we would love to talk about because we love talking about one of our favorite games.
Yeah, I would. Can I make a request?
Yeah.
I would love. I mean, we have ideas for topics. Like I know one is specific. It's very mechanics heavy, but like when to use checks.
Right.
But this was kind of a broader subject. Even if it's more specific, I would like to know what you want to know. Let me try that again. I want to know what you would like our opinions on.
Exactly.
I mean, hopefully, if you watched, I don't know if you're editing this or. If you're
I'm gonna keep it as raw as possible.
Okay, so it's pretty raw. So you've watched for a while, so you must enjoy this. If you watched this far, leave a comment right now. I don't care what it is. Yes, I do. Leave a comment
Thank you.
with some topic. I don't care what the topic is, but leave a comment with a, hey, can you talk about this? Or what do you think about this? Don't comment with just first or thumbs up. Okay, just do like, hey, I would love to hear about this. Maybe it's something we were going to talk about anyways, but maybe it's not. Maybe like, hey, turns out we have really differing opinions on that. We could just talk about that.
And if we don't have experience,
We'll get it.
We will
No.
run a one-shot and try to figure out if we can throw any light on that subject. You know.
Sure. But
know.
I mean, really, what could they suggest that we don't have experience
Well,
with?
I'm just saying. 2 years is,
We have experience with everything
Yeah.
before level 6.
you know, before level 6. Yeah. So until next time, this is Hogwash over and out. Thanks for watching. I like that.
Wait, hold on. Wait. I still have water in here. Okay, now we're done.